Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Euro Trade. My name is Marcus D. I've been trading for quite a long time, and I specialize in some of the more alternative products such as metals and energies markets. Now, I am still in the testing phase for my Topstep X API, so we'll see what happens. Yesterday the bot did run a long gold trade fairly late in the day. I mean, I suppose it wasn't that late, but it was in and around the euro close, and the trade that it took was what I call, when I'm manually trading, it's a neutral day fade. So it took it from, let's just see, this is overnight. Of course, this is a 5-minute chart, so we need to go back. I'm usually doing this on a 30-minute chart, but since I'm monitoring what the bot is trying to do and whether it's doing it properly. Okay, here we are. So it decided that the Asia low was broken, and it then scanned it for a volume, for this volume pattern that I like to look for, and then a reversal. So that was in this little candle. So it took it just below 36.70. It was like 36.69.9, I think, or something like that. And then it ran it up for, initially it said 130 ticks, but I actually took it off at 93 because it started to do some stuff that I wasn't really liking, so I decided to kill that manually. However, the bot was correct, so maybe I should have just let it run. That's, based on data, so we'll see. And today I decided to work on a little bit of code to try and smush a couple of bots together that I have running on GC. One of them is a trending bot, so it doesn't really kick in until there's an obvious trend. And the second one is the one that took the trade yesterday. So we'll see what happens, right? But so far so good. The orders are getting filled. The orders are managed accordingly as well. But now I want to see whether it can do the same thing for two strategies, all running from the same app. So yeah, it's exciting week. Let's do the analysis manually to see what we actually have on gold, platinum, copper, see whether there's any opportunities. We can look at silver as well. Silver is a more even crazier than gold, so it's a bit more bumpy, and in my opinion not quite suitable for prop trading, because all of us, whenever you're starting a new prop account, you start with fairly tight risk parameters, and even on micro silver that's still quite expensive. So this is one of the reasons why I don't talk about it much, because I think it won't apply for most people, right? So if I go, oh yeah, I'm going to trade, it's kind of like trying to trade Nikkei. You can only trade Nikkei if you really have a nice cushion, and I wouldn't even touch it without having 50K in there. So silver is kind of similar because of the size of the movement and the volatility that silver exhibits. I prefer to use micro gold. I prefer to use micro copper, maybe even platinum. Platinum is pretty liquid as well when it's moving. Okay, so let's see what Asia did. So first and foremost, I changed the chart to be 30 minutes here. We're going to look at where the Asia low and Asia high are located. So here we go. Let's move this line down here. This is Asia low. So this was the Globex open candle. And then, I mean, really, we have Asia high here. Now, the bot didn't take this break of the Asia high, and I'm guessing that's something to do with the volume, just looking at how things are not really, because what I look for is a volume spike and then a reversal that can indicate effectively an exhaustion candle. So when you don't have that, when the volume is just like slightly building up, that tends to lead more often than not to a true breakout that then grows after the main orientation or previous range is reclaimed. But yeah, let's put some markers here. So Asia high, Asses high, Asses high. And then we're going to look at the profile and we're going to look at the GEX levels, ADR, ASR, and all of that good stuff to see how much space we have left on the day. And I'm just going to let the bot do whatever it wants to do. So whenever it deems that it's time to enter, it should be calling one of the two strategies. So one, like I said, is a trending strategy. And I want to see how they will work together, because one of them should really stay out completely on slightly more range-bound days, and the other one looks at staying inside the range effectively. So they shouldn't clash too much, okay? If they do, obviously I'm going to have to figure out some sort of exclusion variables that if one of them is already running, to not kick off the other one. So some filters in there, but yeah, it's all pretty exciting. And then I'm going to move on to trying to code up some of the stuff that I have on RBOB. Not crude oil, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll find something on crude oil. However, RBOB, mean reversion, value gap fill is something that I'm kind of tinkering on at the moment as well. All right. Mohammed is saying, where is the interest on? Well, here's the thing. The Euro trade is going to get an overhaul. So that's starting next week. We have the marketing team kind of preparing the assets and stuff to reflect the time change. So we're going to be moving it later in the day. And we're going to be very kind of metals focused, because the London Metal Exchange is opening at 11:40 a.m. my time. And these streams are starting at 9:30, where we used to have to trade DAX, but that's not going to be the case. So I want to see if we can have a new name, new time slot, new name that will reflect what we're doing here a little bit better, in light of the fact that we don't have DAX. So it's not really the Euro trade, is it? So yeah, we'll see. We're just finalizing some things. So I may throw the marketing team my little rock song. And we'll see what they say. Actually, I'll do that when I come off the stream. But thanks for reminding me. So we are going to try and have the intro for that. The intro theme song, right? Okay, so we're creeping back up towards the former Asia high. Let's have a look at the profile. I'm going to use the London Open profile for this, because it is the closest exchange that sometimes does something, but most of the time gold really doesn't properly start moving until much, much later. Asia trades it a lot, but as soon as you hit London, they almost kind of go to sleep or something, I don't know. And then we have this weird moment of just not really doing much. All right, so looking at the open, let me just make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. Just going to check the times here. Yeah, so that is the correct one. All right, so when we're looking at the London values, We opened just underneath it. Now, with the strong trend on gold, there is a very high chance of us going into a value acceptance. Now, the value area low is 36.85.4. And as you can see, it kind of is clashing with the Asia high. So I'm going to do this actually, because they're so close together, right? And again with the aces high, we're not buying computers. So that's the value area for London session only. It's having trouble breaking through it. It is, but obviously the bot deemed that this is not enough of a volume event. So does that mean we're going to go higher since the bot computer says no? If you ever watch Little Britain, since the computer says no, does that mean maybe there's a long opportunity here? But you know, obviously the long opportunity in this way, it wouldn't be like a proper trending move just yet. It would be just another playbook. All right, value high. Where's my value high? 36.92.9. Just need to change that. Now, London Metal Exchange obviously has its own distribution curve because I run it from the start of the London Metal Exchange all the way till its end. So I effectively look for a couple of things to happen there in and around those areas. But for now, this is what we've got, right? So below value, and contrary to popular belief, not all below value opens are immediately a discount in the price. They can be, but the open distance from the value low and wherever we're opening for the relevant exchange really needs to be sizable. Otherwise, you have two options, either a value low reversal or the value acceptance. Now, that's tricky for newer traders because it's a line in the sand type setup. And if you don't have the well-defined conditions for both, some people start to chop themselves up when the market starts consolidating. So they go long, they go short, they go long, they go short, and then they have a hole. So what I like to do is not go to the lower time frames, but instead stay on the 30-minute chart, 15 minutes at the very least, and then see what it wants to do. So given the fact that my bot didn't enter the reversal trade, maybe we have scope for the value acceptance. And that's another thing that is very useful for me. The way I look at things, I very much function as a binary decision maker. So it's got to be either an unequivocal yes or no. It can't be maybe, right? So we'll see. Right now, nothing. We're just retesting the area. And I know that some of the more aggressive traders, they'll be like, well, you should try long here. No, I shouldn't try anything until I actually have conditions. How much space do we have on the day? That's another measure. So let's have a look at the average daily ranges. All right, so daily ranges and session ranges, I can see that we actually have quite a lot of space. So the ADR, which is a 24-hour exhaustion level, falls up at 3702.4. So loads of space until we get there. And if you're wondering what happened with my gray background, I don't know, because I managed to, yesterday during the stream, actually, I somehow managed to pull the actual chart into the lower window. And for the life of me, I had no idea how to get it back. So I just hit default. And then I kind of forgot about it. So just today, before I started the stream, since I use TopstepX as mainly my execution platform, I just didn't really bother with that. So that's the story of the not knowing how to use charts. All right, what do we have here? This is the ADR, full 24-hour ADR high, right? That starts to count and calculate already at Globex Open, and then as the day develops, it kind of adjusts sometimes, but by the time that I come to do these streams, Asia's are pretty much already done whatever it's going to do, and it doesn't recalculate all that much, I suppose. And then the ADR low is at 36.41, so way past the Asia low. So yeah, we have enough space here, so we don't have to worry about the profit margin lacking on these trades. I also have the average session range for this part of the day, but I don't like using it because it's usually a very tight range. So I'm going to wait until the LME open and then see where the session range falls at that point. But yeah, for now, this needs to be a different color. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay. So ADR low, ADR high, value area low, value area high. What are we doing on the initial balance? Nothing. So right now we are still inside the initial balance, so there's nothing to see there. Move along. Move along. Oh, Coach Robert has joined us. Coach Robert has joined us today. I was talking about you yesterday, Rob. If I don't know whether you were awake yesterday, but yeah, I popped into the Topstep X API Discord. I'm sorry. You know why? Because you know the questions there are quite funny. I think that the AI boom has made everybody think they can code, which I find hilarious. So yeah, some of those questions they gave me a chuckle. Let's put it that way. They definitely gave me a chuckle. But yeah, so I advised people yesterday, if you're going to go into any sort of Topstep X API coding, please take a basic course in coding, like at the very least, because it's going to be less painful for everybody involved, especially Coach Robert. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But yeah, so I have my... Oh, yeah, so now I do have a little trading dashboard, which is super basic. Just to kind of keep track of what this thing is doing. And then last night I tried to... actually, Robert, you might be able to help me here. I don't know whether there is a way to do this, but can you run like concurrent streams for like 2 different products? Because I tried to do it and it just gets very confused. So right now I did manage to obviously pull the real-time data, but I have obviously gold going fine, and everything is kind of updating as it should, but obviously copper should be in there, but every time I put it, the quotes are just like, no. So I don't know, maybe we can have a chat about that. And I had a ton of problems trying to get Signal R working through Python. It's like literally 12 days of why it's not doing it, and yeah, it was a little bit annoying. And then in the end, I did manage to find it, and you know, it does work now, but oh my god, it nearly drove me absolutely insane. So yeah. Yeah, okay, concurrent streams. One logging, but code to pull multiple instruments. All right, I did that, but obviously that's not working at the moment. Again, I just tried it last night. Might have been a bit tired, so I'm going to have a look at it today after a good night's sleep again. I was messing around with getting a couple of strategies to work, and then I spent most of the day just staring at the code, and I don't know, after about 8 to 10 hours, I suppose your brain just checks out. And then, you know, you need to sleep, and then you look at it and you go, oh, yes, of course, I'm being so stupid. And then sometimes in coding, you know, you write something and it works, but it shouldn't. And you're like, why? It's like, why is that happening? Like, how are you doing that? So, yeah. And I am a bit rusty. Look, I haven't properly coded just by myself for like 3 years. So I am just getting back into it. And actually, when I first went back to it, I was like, okay, let's start. And then I was like, how do you do this? And I looked at the code and I just went, I have no idea what all this is. But then literally like a day later, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Yes, it's coming back to me now. Celine Dion. All coming back to me now. Yeah, it breaks something else. That's another thing. It's like that should work, but no, that doesn't work. Why? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Robert. I'm gonna check that out. Yeah. Yeah, Paul. I tried the Control Z when I did the chart flip into the lower window. I have no idea how I even like. Usually, I just use a mouse. So I was like, why did that happen and how? All right, let's have a look at where the options levels are located today on gold. So we had the put support from 0DTEs already at 3680. Now, yesterday, if I remember correctly, that was a GEX2 level. So again, a high concentration level. If we remain above it, I would probably lean on the continuation and into the value acceptance setup, even though we currently have this annoying range that we always have for this time of the day. But yeah, I'm not necessarily leaning to the value low reversal, but instead the value acceptance and a rotation through it. But not now, right? Because again, we're probably going to stay in the range until LME, and then it's going to wake up. Then they're going to have their cup of coffee or a line of something, or keep it PG, keep it PG. And then they're going to wake up, and they're going to actually start to make a decision of what they're going to do with gold. But yeah, once we hold this 3680, if we do hold it, the road is actually clear all the way up to 3700, which nicely lines up with the overshoot overall trend. Of course, we are in an uptrend and we're smashing all-time highs nearly every day. So yeah, no need to fight that at the moment. And then we have a clean run up to the gamma wall, and not too far away from that is the ADR high exhaustion point. So all of that nicely lines up with the value acceptance hypothesis. But yeah, and then from there, that point onwards, maybe we can look at fading it for a few ticks back the other way, although I wouldn't expect too much. You know, maybe you might get let's see, 1.5. So you might get like 100 ticks out of it, but you know, it's not going to be like some massive swing down that continues for hours and hours, because A, it's against the trend, B, it will be near the all-time high, and it would just be retesting this area where we turned around yesterday after making an all-time high. So that is definitely a behavior to watch out for. But yeah, I'm not really leaning too much to try and fight the trend. So this is where the gamma wall is. And if we kick up into a trend, I then have a pullback trend bot that is going to scan for that on a 5-minute chart. But it really needs to be properly trending on a 5-minute chart. So let's have a look at what the 5 minutes is looking like. Yeah, so the 5-minute slope, I have a 16 EMA. So the reason why I have all of this here is because bots are a little bit different. Like we have our human brains that can easily flip between strategies, right? Well, bots can't do that. And if you try that, they're going to get confused and they're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. So you will get no trades at all because the bot just can't tell what it's doing, right? So a couple of things that I need there. I need a steeper slope. So I have code that will scan for that. How that's going to work in here, I don't know. We'll see. And then I also need Fisher transform, which this oscillator down here that I have, to be at a particular level. So we're looking for a pullback after the trend is already confirmed. So we're not fighting it, but instead we're just looking for some pullbacks to be able to get back in on that trend. And because of that, the two bots that I have running are not supposed to be fighting, because one of them is more like a range bound bot and the other one is a trending bot. So yeah, and there they are fighting the range again. See that? So we're just gonna chop around. It's gonna chop around unless we have something like, do we have, I know we have releases later on, but is there anything imminently dangerous today, Europe-wise? No. So yeah, we have PPI at 1:30 p.m. my time. But yeah. So yeah, maybe we'll stay range bound. I don't know whether it's gonna kick off into a trend, because we typically need a catalyst for a good trend that lasts for hours. It can't just be, you know, nothing's happening and we're like trending. Maybe in equities. Maybe in equities. So no bad news, let's go up. Have a good night, Robert. I'll chat to you later. I'll check out that document. Robert just doesn't sleep. I don't know when he sleeps, man. Sometimes I send him a message in the middle of the night over here, and he's like answering, and I'm like, do you sleep? Do you ever sleep? Are you a vampire, really? Where to find gamma wall values? So Mario, I use MentorQ for that. If you go to my channel, now Topstep has kindly put the link to my channel on YouTube, which I've had since 2015, and I got a little bit more active there in 2020 during COVID, because I was bored and in quarantine. But have a look at the final video. Oh, final. That's a bit dark. The last video on my channel. Final is like, yeah, I'll never do another one. I'm gonna do more, but yeah, have a look at the video that I just did literally last Friday or the Friday before. I don't know. I lose track. But yeah, it's the latest video on the channel, and that gives you the basics, and it also gives you the MentorQ link and stuff, and a little code and all of that. So it's a very useful little video, only about 10-11 minutes, and I literally just stick to the very basics so that I don't scare off anyone, even though, because it's sort of a scary concept. It's like, oh my god, it's so complex. It's not that complex once you understand the meta language of what each of those levels represent and what each of the terms mean. It's actually all, very straightforward, really. It's not easy, but it's easier because you're actually looking at market maker levels rather than, a random area. And, coding that is a little bit difficult to automate fully, because obviously the levels change, there's gamma flow changes and all that, but it's certainly an interesting thing to look out for. All right, let's sniff some other metals, shall we? Sniffing metals, yes. First of all, I'm going to split this. Next, I'm going to go to copper. Then we're going to have a look at what copper is doing on the massive time frame. Like literally massive. There's that big smash down. I mean, every time we had a smash down before then, we kind of recovered through it. At least like 50 to 60% of it, right? This time around, it ain't recovering. Like, this is a weekly chart. And this one candle that happened in the span of like 5 minutes, it eclipsed everything. And it's just standing there. So I can't really, I don't know, I haven't been trading copper much. So for now, I would just say, what do we do with this? Well, we trade the range until proven otherwise. It could be an accumulation. If you're going to look at phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, according to Wyckoff, right? So phase 1 is accumulation. should be followed by markup probabilistically, which is an up move. But I don't know, I'm just a little bit perplexed here. Why this move and then nothing, you know? So let's see if maybe the daily chart brings us a little bit more clarity. But so far looking exactly the same as it looked 5, 6, 7 weeks ago at the point of jumping off a cliff and then nothing. So do we have anything in here? I don't know. This kind of almost looks like a bear flag, which is like a continuation pattern. Not that I put too much stock in flags, but when you have nothing else to fall back on, does it look a bit flaggy? I know some people would be like, well, higher lows and higher highs, it's an uptrend. This is not an uptrend. It's either an accumulation or I suppose a redistribution if we're going to carry on lower. But I'm not, I don't know, like not recovering through it. And, you know, this gap also. So we have a gap on the profile, visible range profile. Let's mark that. Here's the gap. What did they do? They touched it and immediately went, no. Almost like, you know, touching hot water or something. Does this mean that this smash down was valid and caused by an institution that knows something we don't? Maybe. Where's my tinfoil hat? Need to get one of those, actually. You know, every time I'm doing conspiracy theories, I should wear one. But yeah, for now, the only thing I'm seeing here is that we tried to go through the low volume node. We failed. Maybe upon the second and third try, we might have some traction. But for now, I have to read the chart, and that means that we have rejected the low volume node in the gap area, and that can only mean shorts are still on the cards within this range. So where is the nearest supply here? This is kind of like my thought process when I'm looking at the chart and trying to diagnose it. Where's the nearest supply, and what kind of quality do we have out of that supply? So knowing that there's a low volume node up there, I'm committing that to memory. This is the reversal. This is the nearest supply. How does it look? Not that great. We have a decent move away from it, I suppose, but then immediate pop into it. So we couldn't even stay away from it very far, which is interesting to say the least. And then where is the demand? I mean, very messy. Very messy. I suppose the demand is like this. Multiple pops into the demand area. I mean, honestly, this looks like a 5-minute chart to me. Like, it's just so wild that this is on the daily, because you just don't really see this sort of price action. Usually it's cleaner, you know, it's like you have more commitment to either side. Summer dryness, this is what I'm reading here. So I'm going to say, given the fact that we popped into a low volume node, reversed from it, and a very low quality demand here, that we might be looking at going lower, you know, that bull flag idea, the bear flag idea as well. So yeah, I might be wanting to look for shorts as a general strategy, unless we have something really obvious happening. So now that we know all of this, let's check out the intraday timeframes immediately. Check out lower timeframes. Right, where is the Asia high and low? So Asia range is first on the cards. So Asia low is here. And let's make that yellow, just because. And then Asia high is all the way up here. Okay. The same analysis, right? Just knowing what Asia did, what Tokyo did. And in fact, when I worked for prop firms in office, the morning meeting was all about, was there any news overnight, and where's the Asia high and low? that was the meeting that required us to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. The most pointless meetings ever, but hey, we had to do something, right? I mean, I suppose it was a constructive overview of the day's developments. So yeah, now that we know where Asia high and low are located, let's have a look at the value area is located for this time of the day. Although we do have another one for LME. Actually, you know what? Because I've been kind of focusing more on the COMEX, because, you know, copper has been generally pretty quiet. And when you have both exchanges, you know, LME and COMEX working together, you have the most volume for the day. So let's maybe check out the COMEX values for this purpose. 457.55 is the value high. And then we have 455.80 for the value low. Now, these are not to be used as support and resistance. If I'm looking at longs and we're still inside value and we're opening inside value, I will be looking for the price to actually attempt to exit the value area and then to try and fade that, because that is called a responsive long, which means the market makers are hedging against the further movement upon the attempt of exiting the value area that we've been in. That is a range day play. And if I look at where we are from the point of view of gamma, I mean, I suppose it's a negative gamma environment. There's a little bit of a clash between the 0 DTs and the kind of normal monthly options. But we have the put support at 455. So that's even lower. And looking at the ADRs and the likes, so plenty of space. So ADR low is actually 453.80. And ADR high, 461.75. So yeah, very far away. Very far away. Yeah. So I don't know. Copper to me looks like fade the range sort of thing. So yeah. I wouldn't be trying any massive swing trades here. Maybe looking to just go down to the put support and then fade it back into the value. That could be one setup. Don't hold it too long, obviously. If we go to Asia high, then break it. Similar thing. I would want to fade that. So yeah, that's probably going to come much later in the day. And what are we doing on the initial balance at the moment for London? Trying to exit the initial balance. It kind of extended a little bit, it poked its toe slightly outside of the initial balance, but pulled back immediately. So yeah. Okay, so copper is a bit of a meh for me. But there could be a trade, it's just not going to be a big trade. All right, gold still in range. Still in range. Now, once we get to the LME, there needs to be a little bit of an adjustment in the way we're looking at Asia high, Asia low. What happened to my Asia high? Oh, is that it? Oh yeah, this is the 5-minute chart. I'm so used to looking at the 30 minutes that I'm like, where did it go? Because usually on a 30-minute like ballpark, this area would be already Asia low, and I'm like, it's all the way down there. Oh my god. Yeah. So gold. So once gold gets to LME, so here is the twist. Since the Asia high at the moment for the London session is right near the value low, I would be looking to then adjust the Asia or the overnight low, as I like to refer to it, to whatever London high did and wherever London high is located at the time. And that then becomes a reference for the LME open, and the first sort of 30 minutes to 60 minutes, we're looking for that reversal. So we're looking for the equivalent of Frankie fake out for DAX. So, you know, you go establish the Asia range, London opens, takes it out and reverses. It's the same, exactly the same playbook, but with the overnight high being now the formal London high, it's exactly the same. So I would be maybe looking for the takeout and then a little scalp down. Again, probably not going to be a big trade because it's against the overall trend. I would prefer that we meander all the way down to the Asia low and then smash it and then reclaim. That would be better. But if I do manage to get some sort of reversal at the correct time of day from the newly established overnight high, then that's definitely something to consider. All right, I haven't been looking at chat at all. I'm so sorry. Let me catch up on that. Paul H says, I'm excited about the time change. It will line up with when I take most of my trades from LME Open. Yeah, same here. I mostly trade between 12 and 4 p.m. our time, Paul. You still, am I still going to see you today, by the way, since I'm here? Because I feel okay today. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm still thinking what we should call it. So the new time change and the it's going to be the same show because we're going to be talking about the same thing. But I just thought that and I think everybody agrees, the Euro trade was supposed to be something else, and we need a new name. We need to be metals focused for the time of day when LME starts kicking some dirt up, and yeah, so. So, I don't know, metals in the ring, you know, because ring trading, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, copper is Alexander has a good point. Copper is very sensitive to PPI. So, because we have PPI today, and CPI, obviously, the copper is extremely sensitive to anything relating to inflation. So we're probably going to get some juice. But yeah, that's likely not going to happen before my 1:30 p.m. And that lines up with COMEX open. So at that time, we might be seeing some decent movement. And I might get a more dedicated move in copper But for now, everything is just, I think they're just waiting for PPI, to be honest. Obviously, my bot is quiet. It's saying not enough volume on the break for either a breakout or a fake out. So it's just sitting there like a lemon, waiting. So yeah, can just sit here and twiddle our thumbs, analyzing different things. Paul H, yes, looking forward to seeing you again. We'll be waiting, us and the dogs in Crichton. All right. I just saw Robert's message. D is looking at gold. I'm leaving because he hates gold. Like he just can't figure it out. It's kind of like, what would be the equivalent of me? I think me and bonds. That's how I am with bonds. Like in theory, they move sometimes, right? But I don't know what it is about me and bond trading that every time I try, I feel terrible, and then sometimes they're just not moving at all, and you go away and you look at it and it's like, oh great, and then you think you're seeing a big move, but really it only moves like 40 ticks and it looks like it's a swing, right? So that bothers me. And I just can't trade bonds. I've never been a bond trader. Fixed income is not my thing. They tried to push me onto fixed income desk. First it was ES. Then I said in 2013, what is this? This thing moves 12 ticks a day. I'm not trading that. And they're like, okay, you come from Forex, so maybe let's do fixed income, you know. So I looked at Bund, because that was like one of the things that they were trading as well. I looked at the treasuries, and it just did not gel. It just did not gel with me. And then they went, okay, well, maybe the energies are for you. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so look at the energies. And I loved it for 12 years. And obviously, in and around the time when I was already trading crude oil, I added gold to it because I actually found gold with its fierce intraday reversals awesome. Like, I love a good reversal. Because I'm such a mean reversion trader by nature, like any kind of trending markets, the reason why I want to remove myself from the equation on a trending day is because I'm not particularly good at them, right? And gold is excellent at reversals, but it also has a lot of days when it trends. So when the trend is already underway, I'm terrible at getting back in on it. That's one of my huge weaknesses. Unless we've kind of had a break of the initial balance and a sustained auction, I just don't know how to re-enter a trend after all this time. I always feel like, and it comes back to how you feel about a trade, I feel that the risk is never that defined because there is just no structure to rely on, and that makes me uncomfortable. Because I'm like, this could just whip back all the way and just take me out. So I did aggregate some of the data of the days that I was successful trading gold on a trending day, and I found some interesting confluences. Like, for example, I wasn't necessarily looking for the initial balance breakout, but I was looking for a breakout, then a pullback halfway into the initial balance before a continuation. So I found that really interesting. Wasn't really aware of that. It's funny how you track things and then you run it through a data platform to analyze exactly where these trades happened. And almost all of them were a variation of the setup that I call strength inside initial balance. So it's just interesting and it was very gold specific. It wasn't specific to crude oil. If you try to do the same thing, it wouldn't happen. And in fact, on RBOB crude oil, when the mean reversion of any kind is happening, you really need to be pretty quick with it. On gold, it's not quite like that. There's a lot of kind of like push-pull before it decides that it's going to turn around. And it takes like sometimes an hour for it to actually start the mean reversion trade. And with the trending markets, crude oil trends sometimes, But most of the times it's a very double-sided market, which is why a lot of people struggle with it. And that used to be amazing when we had 300 to 400 ticks of range in a day, but it's an absolute pain when you have 100 ticks per day to work with. Horrible. I like to take about 30% of the move on the day as my target. And if that number is not 70 to 100 ticks of the range, I have to have my 70 ticks. I have to have my 70 ticks. If the product doesn't have that, I always struggle. And gold right now, it has 460 ticks for the 24-hour range and 360 for COMEX. Yeah, so you can easily get 100 ticks out of it. And that makes it worth my time because, 100 ticks times 10, that's $1,000. But if I can't have that, then I have to increase size. And I always hate doing that. And I'm like, well, I don't want to increase size. I want to trade with smaller size in relation to the account balance, but still have 100 ticks, 70 to 100 ticks. That's what D wants. So D looks for products that have that sort of a feature inside them so that I can trade smaller size, more ticks taken in a day. And, in theory, somebody will tell me, well, D, NASDAQ offers 1,500 ticks per day. Yeah, but I hate looking at NASDAQ intraday candles. Just looks like it's having a seizure constantly. I'm too old for that. I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades. I don't want stress. I want a lack of stress. So smoother movement. And, gold's actually still ticks those boxes for me, unfortunately. So, yeah. Paul H says, I've been limiting my trades to only gold for 2 reasons. It forces me to wait for the right setup, and learning a market should result in an edge in that market. I hope to tie markets to best times. Absolutely, yeah. Greg is asking how our Bob is doing. I was looking at it yesterday. Didn't see anything super obvious apart from the failed auction. Let's have a look. Since we had Coach Robert in here, it's only natural to have our Robert analysis. Okay, so let me change the copper chart to our Bob, not the interval D, not the interval, the actual product. Thank you. Come on, look alive. All right, let's analyze RBOB. Now, RBOB shouldn't really be analyzed just by itself, right? It should be in conjunction with crude oil, because crude oil is the raw commodity, and this little guy here, is the product, right? Just like heating oil. I've been actually looking at heating oil. I don't know why I like Energy's products so much. I'm the Energy's person, petrol pixie over here. Yeah, so let's have a look. Daily chart, what do we have? Actually, let's start on the weekly, because we haven't looked at crude oil and our Bobby for a while. Again, someday, do you learn how to change time frames in one go? Right, weekly chart, looking pretty range bound still on both accounts, right? So we have one low here, one high here. A bit of a wider range if you kind of go to like 6 months out. So May over here. And yeah, similar, right? Don't know why this was so different on this week. That was interesting. Hold on. Let me have a look. Which day was that? 11th of August. What happened here? What happened on 11th of August? See, this was a massive divergence for this particular week that was visible. Was this the Trump something or other? A month ago? Chat, help me out. Be my research team. Go see what happened on the 11th of August. Was there a Trump speech? Was it something about Russia? Because this was a huge divergence between these two. Hardeep has a XFA update. Okay, from November 2023, it's my second account, and I completed 16 days, 6 red days and 10 green days. Requested my second payout today from this account. Balance sitting at 1800 plus. Excellent, excellent. Just watch that balance, because 1800 is a little bit tight. Okay, so maybe before you take the next payout, you really want to have, you know, at the very least, I would say 4K, because I don't like to, like, here's how I look at 50K accounts. I run it up to 5,000, then I take maximum 30% out of it, but usually it will be 20%. So it will only be like $1.5 grand or something, 1.2K. Then I do the same thing until I get the account somewhere to closer to like 20-30K. At that point, I might consider, if I have a really good day, like let's say I make 3.5 grand, I take half of that out. Just half of that day out, so 50% of the very good day. But if I'm taking out payouts on a monthly basis, on the whole account balance side, it's usually 20% a month. Okay, yes, so Bruno has just helped me out. Thank you, Bruno. You're a star, man. So he goes, Trump and Putin to meet on Friday in Alaska. So that was on the 11th of August. Now, for some reason, that caused our Bob to go absolutely nuts and to diverge for the entire week, to diverge from crude oil. So our Bob went nuts to the downside, then pulled all the way back up and ended up as a green candle, whereas crude oil ended up as a red candle. So very interesting. So, takeaway is if something's going on with Russia, you might see RBOB and crude oil for some reason diverging a bit more. Right, let's have a look at the dailies. What do we have? Still a downtrend in my eyes. RBOB is looking stronger to me than crude oil. Crude oil is having a lot of selling wicks, whereas RBOB looks cleaner on the daily, don't you think? It looks a bit cleaner here. It looks like it's actually trying to go into an uptrend. I know that we have a daily, actually a 4-hour Q low, which is a quantitative swing extreme sort of thing. It's a quartile from the established swing. So you have to have a well-defined swing with a high and a low that goes into a bit of a wave. And then I have something that measures something similar to fibs, but I'm only interested in the top and bottom quartile. I don't care about the fibs, right? So I want that asymmetrical chart location to run a swing position, not something 50% from somewhere. So that's where I differ from some of the people who are like, oh yeah, let's look at the 50% of this and that'll be enough. It's not enough. I want a deeper pullback into that overall swing, and I'm willing to wait for those. But for me, RBOB is actually looking cleaner. Would I say this is a good reversal? No. I think we're still in a downtrend. So to me, this would be a potential for a dead cat bounce. Poor cats. If Dolby is watching, I'm sorry. Yeah. So why? Because with crude oil still being in a downtrend, even though we maintained the low here, I still think we have cause to go lower unless a catalyst occurs. So I am almost permanently bearish on energies markets, and I think that's kind of the same as people trading equities being bullish on equities, because if you're trading something for years and you notice that on most occasions, most of your trades that were successful were on the short side, you almost don't need that buy button for that particular product. And whenever I run the stats, whenever I look at my stats, whenever I tried running long options on crude oil, it was basically, they all expired worthless, most of them. But the short ones, on the short side, not necessarily writing options, but the options, even long puts, they always kill it. They absolutely kill it. So what does that tell you? Don't go longing energy products, right? So yeah, this is why I'm maybe a little bit biased here in my analysis, but I am seeing that any pullback to the upside, to me, on RBOB would be a cause to look for more shorts. So failed auctions, auction fades, if it runs away. I would rather run an auction fade short if it ran away on me on the day, for me on the day, then, you know. But here's another interesting thing. One of my biggest days, or at the time it was probably the biggest compared to the account size, I suppose. It was an $86,000 day, and it was a long crude oil trade, but I was never able to replicate that on the long side, ever. It was always like shorts and more shorts, right? But that day, it was 2015, and we had some news that one of the refineries in Iraq has shut down due to a Middle East conflict that was kicking off at that point. So I thought to myself, well, this is interesting because crude oil has been trending. And then I saw it going to single print when the news was reiterated. So I decided to put in a trade and I let it run. So I was in that trade for the majority of the day. It probably started around 3 p.m. my time. And then it just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And I was like, how far can this go? So I decided just to hold it till the end of the day. And it literally went up all the way and stopped. Like it didn't fade, it didn't do anything. It literally just stopped on the day. But that was a one-off. Like it never really, I never captured something like that again. The days that we see now, because I would say that day was probably about 600 ticks. Like big moves. Now you have big days that are like, oh my God, crude oil went 200 ticks. It's like, that's not a big day. So even if you're running, a larger lot size, you might end up with 20K. So, yeah, well, not even that. So, hold on. Let me calculate this properly. Yeah, I mean, it would be even on, like, let's say, keep it in prop terms, even if you're running a 15 lot position and you get, let's say it's a great day and we actually get 300 ticks on the day. I mean, you might make 45K, maybe. But I remember I wasn't even in with like a huge size or anything. It was just, at the time, very regular for me. So yeah, you would have to, yeah, you would really have to hope that it can carry on running. And unfortunately, so here's the thing, the difference between that day and what crude oil is doing now. It was already trending by the time the NYMEX opened. And when I say 600 ticks, it was what I took out of it. So it was a day where it just went absolutely nuts and kept going. So I didn't need super big size, right? I didn't need super big size. So that's what was so impressive, that it wasn't a big size and I still made all that cash. So I was like, okay. GC just broke out of range. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. And then promptly pull back. Yeah. Did we do anything? No. So the bot is deeming that's not good enough for some reason. So yeah, RBOB, I'm still short biased. Still short biased. Yeah, volume is not doing anything. I'm still running it. It's still going through. So let me just make sure I don't have any stuff in there. So yeah, it's still running. There it is. You can still see data coming through and stuff, and then that's also printing on my little dashboard here. I need to remove this copper thing for now because it's annoying me. But yeah, I will go and see how I can run concurrent streams because something is not working properly. And it is bothering me. It is bothering me. All right, so we have some commitment to the upside now. So what I like about this little dashboard, I missed having just a ticker. Does that make sense? So a ticker where you're just seeing the quotes. You're just seeing the quotes. And I wanted to have that back, but then I added this volume thing to also obviously pick up volume. And that wasn't working. It was just like stuck at 1. So I had to go back and figure out why that was. But now it kind of shows you when it flashes up. And then I have this massive candle because I'm terrible at making graphic user interfaces. I'm terrible. Like, do not ask me to do that. I am just, you know, anything that writes and that draws on the chart. I don't like painting. I don't like, you know, my sister loves painting, but everything to do with the graphic, I hate geometry. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. So yeah. All right, so it is going into a value acceptance now. So this means that my range bot that detects false breakouts is now correct. It's saying there ain't no false breakout here. This could be a real breakout. So this could be now the value acceptance play up to the hypo that we were talking about with the trend. I wouldn't need it to actually hold above the Asia high though. But again, we have PPI. Should I even do anything before then? I don't know. I mean, they are pushing it. So now, what's the time? Yeah, we're coming close to the 11 o'clock time zone. So that's kind of already pre-market sort of thing. So it's like, okay, now we're waking up. Somebody said coffee. I know I have. And now they're like, okay, let's see if we can get this going. And let's have a look at what's going on lower time frames with volume. Yeah, so volume is increasing. And I can see why the bot that detects false breakouts didn't deem this to be a false breakout. So if you look at how the volume is so smooth, can you see that? You can't see that. Let's do this. Okay. So if you see how the volume is slowly growing, see? So there's no choppiness. There's no like one candle up, one candle down, one candle up, one candle up. It's like steady, steady, steady breakout. So the false reversal bot said, meh. Now I don't have a code for value acceptance yet. I will at some point, but right now I'm only working with 2 things. So this would have to be a manual trade. And I think my attention is just so split with code and getting things to work. So I'm not going to be doing that because I think I'm just going to be making mistakes and maybe not being fully present. So I'm going to let the bots do what they want to do. Maybe we find another reversal later on in something else, because I'm running the false breakout also on copper. That could be something. But yeah, it needs to, for the false breakout, it really needs to have volumes that are out of the ordinary, right? They're a bit choppy, not smooth, and then it scans for like a shakeout, almost like an exhaustion volume candle, and then deems that that is the false breakout because it happened too quickly across a very small period, and those typically lead to more shakeouts. But if you have a committed run up in volume, you can deem that this is actually a decent breakout above the Asia high. According to my methodology, this is also a value acceptance trade for the London session. But to me, I'm wanting to see a pullback maybe to the Asia range and then to go higher. So now I have the option of value area low retests. So 36.85.4 is a retest to continue to run that for the full rotation up to a smaller target at 36.92. Even though in the grand scheme of things, we have a gamma wall, we have ADR high. I just don't think this is the right time of the day for that, especially with PPI looming. So now the plan is, once we have this, to wait for a pullback. And this is where some people are chasing. They're like, oh, it's a breakout. Go in, D, go in. Where's your risk? Where's your risk? It would have to be all the way down here, right? That's like 89. That's like already 50 ticks of risk. And where is my value acceptance target? Target 1, 36.93. What sort of a profit margin is that? It's like negative risk reward. No, thank you. So I want to see a good pullback so that my profit margin and the profile, the risk profile on the trade is truly asymmetrical. And I won't take the trade unless that's the case. I know that I tried to appease chat for quite a while, and I wanted to enter trades that maybe weren't ideal, but I'm sick of doing that. So I want to wait for the trades that are D trades, right? And this one, condition 1, satisfied. We're above the initial balance. But the risk profile, is not asymmetrical enough for me to take this without a pullback. Now, if this goes into a fierce trending move, I then have a trending bot that is going to pick up an order somewhere during the course of the day. Once this slope is high enough, and once we have a smaller pullback, but significant enough to pick up the conditions at that particular time for a continued move up. So that's it. That is the plan for today. Yeah, Short Life Hack says my algo is long until 37.87. Yeah, so to me that was the beginning, really. That was the beginning for my long trade in the scope of value acceptance, right? Because we were looking for a breakout above the Asia high, and I look for bigger chunks. So if I was looking for that, it would have been 30-minute close, which I'm not even sure that we have yet. So yeah. Yeah, no, so Paul, the false breakout bot is not looking at any time frame. It has no concept of time frames. It has a concept of volume shakeout and a concept of price going back into the old Asia range after the shakeout. So there's no time frame involved. You don't need a time frame, right? So all you need is, so effectively the volume spike is what, and the pullback into the previous range is what pushes it into a trade. This one also doesn't, it looks at a 5-minute EMA and a 5-minute Fisher transform, but it also doesn't have an entry time frame, so to speak. It's just looking for a pullback to the EMA line if it happens, and then Fisher transform has to be at a particular number at that point. So that's it. Yeah, gold has clean price action for sure. That's why a lot of us like gold. What's copper doing? Copper is kind of going into a failed auction now, which is interesting. But yeah, things are usually livening up towards the end of this stream. This is the reason why we're going to be moving it to a new time frame. So basically, from next week, we'll be starting the stream only what is now the end of this stream, right? So at 11 o'clock my time, in 12 minutes time, that will be the new start of the London stream. And you can see why, because this is when I'm streaming, when I was supposed to be trading DAX, and this is when it's moving. So, you know, maybe by the time that I come to talk to you, maybe I'll already have a trade. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But it's certainly a better time frame for the metals. So we're going to be trading the LME hours effectively. So we're going to look at the LME open. We're going to look at how the first 40 minutes of LME is looking as well. And then focus on the time of day that is traditionally my best time of the day performance-wise, which is between 12 and 4 p.m. UK time. So yeah. Short life hacks, yep, clean if you're patient. I'm patient. If anything, patience is my my strength, because I can sit in trades forever. I can, like, if it's trending and I manage to catch it somewhere pretty decently, I have no problem staying in for like 4 or 5, 6 hours. In fact, some of the trades that I've done on copper and gold, and copper in particular, my average hold time on the winners was 100 minutes. Average, which means that some of them went way over that, and some of them were obviously slightly under. But in general, I'm just like, well, okay, so value acceptance completed now. So target 1 would have been satisfied. I don't know how the entry would have been, because I like to have some sort of a more committed movement. This was all just happening in one go. Is there any news? Let me just have a look at financial juice. And I would still say this is, you know, it's a pretty strong push, but now it remains to be seen whether this is going to fade the single prints or whether we're actually going to end up in a trending day again. What is happening? Let's see. Russia's top diplomat called to Polish foreign ministry. Okay. EU's von der Leyen considering social media curbs in the EU. What does that mean? Yeah, so some trade wars talk from Europe, talking about sanctions. Yeah, so it looks like Europe is working with the US to introduce sanctions to Russia. That's risk off. That's risk off. So all of that happened because the ECB dude was talking. Is it a dude? Let's have a look. Because I know Christine. Who the hell is one? Oh no, it's a she. Ursula. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission. Okay. See, I haven't been keeping in touch with Europe. I have no idea what's going on. Let's see who she is. She's 66. Okay. How have I not heard about it before? Weird. How long has she been in this? Oh, since 2019. Where the hell have I been? I'm living under a rock. This is because I haven't traded Forex. That's why. Because I've been like in futures, so I was like all fed and everything. Nobody cares about the Europe, right? About Europe. Who cares about Europe? But yeah, she's been the president of the European Commission, a woman. So Europe is kind of like leading the charge with women in power. We have the central banker and the president of the European Commission, both females. Interesting. Yeah, Short Life Hack says, my current algo apparently has a 44 Sortino ratio. Something is wrong with that. Yeah, you know what? I'm never really quite sure about those calcs. You know, every time I look at it, like I've seen some really decent algorithms that have like not such a good Sharpe ratio, and I'm like, well, what? Like I know what it's measuring, but why is it that then some of the algos that technically in back tests have higher Sharpe and Sortino, then you run them live and they just fall apart? And I'm like, is that the overfitting on the back test? Like, well, what is it? Or, you know, but hey, it's if that's your actual live data, I don't know, like what time frame is it taken in? Is it like taken in the entirety of the time that it was running, or just for the last, you know, that's also a question. What time period is it taken into account? But yeah, I don't know. I've seen some algos that have really average and slightly sucky sucky Sharpe ratio, and yet they're like smashing it in real conditions. So yeah, it is an odd one. Yeah, he says I have to manually calculate it myself. Yeah, do you know what? I would trust that more than like a random thing. Peaceful Bull. This is very bullish price action candlesticks. Well, here's my thoughts, because let me see. I think we're in a positive gamma. And that means at some point the market makers will have to hedge this. So however strong this looks to you, the market makers have to hedge against it. Only if something happens, but let me see if we are. Let's see how we're doing today. Can it load? Yeah, it says positive gamma right now. And also we have the seasonality to consider, because sometimes we have gold and platinum that usually like to go down in October for some reason, and then they kind of recover back up towards the middle of December, and then that uptrend usually stays throughout January. That's been something to see. So yeah, at some point market makers will have to hedge this if nothing else has changed. If there's no true risk off, then we should see a slowdown and a reversal around 3700. So yeah. RC says, I use my algos for NQ mostly. Better Sharpe does pay well, but I also agree that it's not a benchmark. All goes to the risk profile. Yeah, exactly. So I think that if you don't have some super scalpy thing that is banking on like high accuracy and frequent profits, that Sharpe just doesn't read those. You know, if you have lower accuracy but higher risk reward, it's going to be like, they're thugs. But it's like, we know that the systems with slightly lower accuracy, like 40 to 50%, but higher risk reward, they actually perform pretty well and are very, very stable over time. very stable over time. So, you know, I have beef with the way algos are scored, really. Dee's got beef. Dee can't eat beef, but she got beef with algos. Well, it's a crime says better than he used to be past president Mario Draghi. Yeah, I don't know. I quite like Draghi. He was a character. He was a character. Him and his tie. Now they're trying to do the same for what's his name, Daddy Powell, and because you know Mario used to be bullish or bearish, hawkish or dovish, and the color of the tie would almost always reflect the stance, and then they're like, oh yeah, let's try to do the same for Powell. And then they asked him, say, you're wearing purple ties. Is there any significance? And he goes, yeah, I like purple ties. I mean, you've got to respect that, right? Powell is a character. I don't know. I like him. He's great. I like purple ties, he said. that is the significance. It reminds me of this girl that I met with, like, she had these weird tattoos all over her, and we were on a vacation. So she was in a bikini and had these, like, really ugly, like, stars all over her belly. And so it just didn't look very good. It looked a bit trashy, you know. So me being nosy, and I didn't really know her, and I said, hey, any, like, significance to those stars? You know, is there any significance? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she goes, I like stars. I'm like, okay. Rock on. So yeah, I didn't ask any questions after that. So yeah, but yeah, Powell's sarcastic answer kind of reminded me of that. Like, is there any relevance to your purple ties? Yeah, I like purple ties. Lenka says, did I take any trade online? No, not today. Yesterday, yes, but it was off stream because it was late. It was after 4:15. And then once I saw the bot taking that, I took it in my live as well. So just one trade. Like, and honestly, this week, I don't know whether I've done 2 trades in the entire week. Both were good. One of them was only a few ticks, but I think I got a bit sidetracked. It was a long in copper. And then yesterday I did a long in gold. There's a neutral gold fade. All right, so maybe this could be a setup. Again, I'm just babysitting algos here, and we're coming up to the end of the stream. But maybe it could be a test of the value high to the gamma wall. So here's the thing. If I enter a trade now, it's going to screw up the algorithm because then it's not going to give me what I need. I'm not going to do it. Look, I've got to be patient. I need to get this sorted. I need to get the bots running. So I'm going to let them do whatever. And you're just going to have to be patient. And since next week we're starting in the new time slot, very likely with a new name as well. We're still kind of thinking of what that should be. My contender is, because you know how there's ring trading, because every 5 minutes there's a ring on the LME and then the metals change. And the whole thing is called ring trading. So we have, you know, bell to bell. We have the opening bell. Why not have something like metals in the ring? Kind of like it alludes that the metals are sort of like almost fighting each other, but it also alludes to the ring trading. So that would be my choice. You know, metals in the ring with D. Mr. Open Iron says I'm going short here. I don't mind that. I would just look for a bigger break to the downside, so to actually not have these passive buyers that are pushing the wicks. So here's the thing, when you're looking at a very bullish environment, any sort of a wick upside, it means passive buyers are still sitting there. But I do expect the market makers to hedge. I'm just a little bit afraid that they're going to push, like if you're going to short here, that they will push until 3,700, which is my next area of interest, where I would like to be a scalper short, right? So I'm not going to run a swing all the way back down, but I would like to get a bit of a fade there. And then obviously for me, more longs should be somewhere closer to the what is now the former sort of Tokyo and Asia high. So somewhere in between 36.87 and 36.85 if we can get it. Before I will, you know, entertain yet another long. But my trending algo, because again, remember I suck trading continuations, so if I go long up here, that's probably not going to work, knowing how my track record is with this. So I need a deeper pullback for it. But the algo might find another opportunity, so I'm going to let it cook. That's all from me today. We are at time. I'm going to see you tomorrow for one last Euro trade before we roll into the new time slot and new name, new branding, and start to focus a lot more on the LME and on the time of day that is a lot more, makes a lot more sense, right? That's it. Enjoy the rest of the main broadcast. I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, I'm Market D. This was the Euro Trade. I shall see you tomorrow. Take care.